It'll be like mad King George III. It'll be mad King George the Stammerer, who let his people down so badly in their hour of need. What are you doing? Get up, you can't sit there, get up!
Why not? It's a chair.
No, that is not a chair, that is St. Edward's chair.
People have carved their names on it.
Chair is the seat on which every king
It's held in
and
place
queen...
by a large rock.
That is the stone of Scone. You are trivializing everything. You trivialize...
I don't care how many royal arsenals have sat
Listen to me! Listen to me!
Listen to you by what right?
By divine right, if you must. I'm your king.
No, you're not. You told me so yourself. You said you didn't want it. Why should I waste my time listening to you?
Because I have a right to be, and I have a voice!
Yes, you do.
When it comes to Oscar-nominated and Oscar-winning films, I feel like there are two overall types of contenders, and they both fall under the now commonly used phrase in film circles, Oscar bait. What does this mean? Well, they are films that are sure to enter the award season conversation in the movie industry. But when I say two types of contenders, I mean that one Oscar bait movie is an obvious reach for that gold statue. In other words, the movie was made purely and simply to score as many nominations and wins as it can. You could say that this goes for all films to some extent. And while that may be true, I feel that the other type of Oscar bait film is a movie that, while it was certainly intended to be released during the Fall Awards nominating season for consideration, it just happens to be nominated for an award, or multiple awards. Yes, most filmmakers, writers, actors, etc. give it their all in every project, but some movies it's just more obvious that they are pining for an award, versus a movie that delivers in spades without much pretense, if any at all. I might stand in the minority in this stance, but underneath the posh presentation, that is the case with The King's Speech from 2010. I remember seeing this movie in a dollar theater with my mother after the movie had taken up most of its theatrical run. Curiously and pleasantly enough, despite the film being rated R for its brief but strong foul language, the theater we saw it at removed or dubbed over just a couple of those words to make the film version we saw PG-13. I did not start watching the Oscars up until a few years ago, so I missed the year The King's Speech won for Best Picture, among its 3 other wins and 12 total nominations. But I do remember hearing about the victory later, and being very happy and relieved it had won. I believed, and still do, that it deserved the top prize. I have since discovered that a large percentage of people think that The Social Network, released the same year, was snubbed and without question should have won over the film subject of this video. I only saw The Social Network within the last year or so, and while I think the film was very well crafted and told a thought-provoking story for our current times, to me, after recently re-watching The King's Speech, the latter still earns that top movie honor in my mind. No, this is not a video or essay comparing two Best Picture nominees, or exploring why one film is better than the other, but I say this because of why I find The King's Speech a superior film-going experience. Both movies are based on real happenings, this is true. For my money, however, The King's Speech feels much more inspiring and sophisticated in its execution. Director Tom Hooper made a 2-hour film that moves along briskly, is never dull, and can maybe surprisingly be enjoyed by any type of movie fan. I do not consider all those characteristics to be shared with the hectic and stressful Social Network, although I will say that the performances are definitely in the same conversation as The King's Speech. There is so much to unpack with this movie, about why I love it and why it means so much to me. I like how Lionel Logue, portrayed by the delightful Geoffrey Rush, gets to work with a royal subject in Colin Firth's Duke of York then turned King George VI, something that not many people back then, or even now, would ever get the chance to do with someone like that, with their starkly different backgrounds and style of living. Of course, the barriers are knocked down significantly when Lionel requests he be allowed to call his royal pupil Bertie, the stammerer's affectionate nickname usually reserved for just his family. I love how teacher and student become much more than that after working and training hard and spending time together. The film largely focuses on their relationship, and we see that relationship not only begin, but slowly grow over time, and be confirmed by Bertie's touching pronouncement at the conclusion of the film, when he calls Lionel his friend. Geoffrey Rush brings a warm presence to the screen. His sprinkling of humor, twinkling eye, and commitment to not only his work, but to Bertie himself, can only be summarized in 2 words that still do not do the actor justice: completely heartfelt. Not just his character, but his performance as that character. Helena Bonham Carter, as Elizabeth, seemingly plays against type here in this film, and does so rather well as a strong but uplifting wife to the king, who also takes no nonsense. As the end credits rolled, I could not help but ponder how much we all take things for granted. Something that comes so easily, so naturally, like speaking, saying a sentence or a phrase to communicate, people like King George VI could not do without a great deal of struggle, and he was born into that royal life. Colin Firth unquestionably deserved his Best Actor nomination and win here. You see the painful trials and tribulations of his speech impediment and decisions in leadership, and sympathize with his frustration. Firth showcases how Bertie cares for others and to do what is right in an undeniably emotional but sincere fashion. Both in performance and in context of the actual event, Bertie's ending speech was wonderfully done. No, it wasn't perfect, but it didn't have to be. It just needed to be effective, to make a point and arouse courage to the country and invariably to the world in the dark and difficult days ahead of them, and in that it succeeded beyond measure. It's a marvel thinking that this one speech was not just one of many speeches that the king performed in his reign, but that this one speech was just one scene, one moment, one fraction of one man's life out of innumerable worldwide events in our entire history. And many people, including myself, despite creative liberties, did not know about the story until now. The final speech was supposedly written for a 2-minute duration in length, and we certainly experienced firsthand with Bertie how long those 2 minutes really felt. Movies like this are why I love movies. Every ingredient just comes together naturally, but powerfully, to create not just a movie that wows you with all of those ingredients, but delivers an important message in a moving way. Full of heartwarming lead performances and a thoughtful and whimsical score by Alexander Desplat, The King's Speech is a masterfully directed and aesthetically pleasing movie that I think, above all else, is about perseverance and hope. It is a triumph in every sense of the word, and even though it was released just over a decade ago, it truly earned a voice in my 100 favorite movies.
You still stammered on the W.
I had to throw in a few, so they knew it was me.